Testing line spacing with the ADA-CAT font guide. The ADA-ABA guidelines specify that the line spacing between lines of text in a block be from 135% to 170% of the height of the font, measured from the baseline, the bottom of the row of letters without descenders, of one row to the bottom of the next row. If the lines are spaced more closely than 135% of the font height, some people will have difficulty separating the lines as they will blur together. If the lines are spaced farther than 170% of the font height, they will not appear to be a continuous block of text. Each line of the sign will be interpreted by some people as separate sign content. Because the line spacing is specified as proportional to the size of the letters of the font, it is not possible to simply measure the sign with a tape measure to determine whether the line spacing is acceptable. Using the ADA-CAT font guide to assess line spacing. You will recall that the uppermost window of the protractor portion of the ADA-CAT font guide is the line spacing window. When the font guide has been set to the height of the font, this window can be used to assess line spacing. Place the font guide on the sign with the arm component vertical and the pivot aligned with the baseline, bottom, of the lower row of letters on the sign. If the font guide is positioned near a letter with vertical strokes and a horizontal baseline, such as D or E, this alignment will be easier. Note that the arm reference line crosses the line spacing window at an angle. The point where the arm reference line enters the line spacing window is 135% of the height of the font for which the guide has been set. The point where the arm reference line leaves the line spacing window is 170% of the height of the font for which the guide has been set. To assess line spacing, check that the baseline of the upper row of letters crosses the arm reference line of the font guide between the point where the line enters the line spacing window and the point where the line leaves the line spacing window. As with other features of the sign, we are not concerned about the absolute measurement of line spacing, only that the lines are spaced within the allowed range.